When you declare no license needed, you're giving all this information to the BBC, you're giving all this information to TV licensing, and you're giving all this information to Saga City Solutions. Hi, it's me again, and there's one thing lately that loads of people have been asking me. I get tons of emails about it. I even get messages from friends about it. And it's an email that you've got when you've cancelled your licence fee saying you have been caught watching BBC iPlayer and now you are banging trouble, matey. Is it just a phishing? I've always thought it was a phishing email where anyone who declares no licence needed, they'll send them this email just out of a bit of fun. Maybe, you chuck enough hooks out there, you might catch a fish. And that's what I've always thought it is. But there's an FOI request that's been filed by A. Wilmore. And, September 24, it was answered. So, let's have a look at it. Look, this is what the person asked. Recent letters received by those genuinely not needing a TV licence have included the text, however, our records show someone has used BBC iPlayer on a number of occasions over recent weeks. I've seen the letters, I've seen the emails that are sent out, and I've always thought it was just a phishing thing. So let's read on. As an IT professional, I am intrigued as to how this information is obtained, and feel sure that the process of doing so must be fully documented, together with further documentation of how the data can be interpreted and assigned to an individual property. Good question, right? How would they know you've been accessing BBC iPlayer? I would be grateful for copies of any documentation that you have, together with some sample, but unidentifiable, of course, examples of the records mentioned above. That is a very fair question, and one you think I would have asked, right? But I've given up filing FOI requests with the BBC because they never answer me. They always use one of their stupid excuses, like what we've got here, but they did actually answer in the end. Look, the BBC does hold recorded information that is relevant to your request, but we're withholding that information under Section 31 of the FOI Act, as its disclosure would be likely to prejudice the BBC's collection of the TV licence fee and or the prosecution of evaders. They have so many get-out-of-jail-free cards for FOI requests that I've just completely given up. I don't bother filing them anymore. There's absolutely no point in me doing. They don't like me anyway, obviously. They do anything to not answer. But there is a bit of an answer here, and it is interesting. Well, I think it's interesting. But then I'm sad like that with the TV licensing stuff, and We can, however, explain that when a BBC account holder accesses BBC iPlayer, the BBC retains a log that includes the date, time and duration of the access, the email address used and the genre viewed. An account holder can inspect the log for their own account. Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. A website would do that. Where the account holder has opted for personalisation, this information can be used to offer recommendations. It's also known as a cookie. Otherwise, it is used in an anonymised form to inform the BBC about audience preferences and viewing habits generally. All fine. No problem with any of that at all. All websites pretty much do that, don't they? But this is where it gets interesting. And are they allowed to do this? I'm not an expert. Maybe let's get some legal advice from somewhere, about this one. This information is also shared with TV licensing, which is a separate entity to the BBC. So your user information for BBC iPlayer is run and operated by BBC Studios, which is a private company. They share that data with another private company called TV Licensing. Did you agree to this? It's probably in a long terms and conditions somewhere. This information is also shared with TV Licensing, who routinely check to establish whether an email address associated with a postal address where a no license needed declaration is in force and has been used to watch or download BBC programmes on BBC iPlayer. So, to be clear about that, the BBC is sharing your personal user data, your email address, that you use to log into BBC iPlayer with a third-party company, TV Licensing, or not just TV Licensing, because it's actually, who is it that runs TV Licensing? Another private company that runs all the enforcement for TV licensing, isn't it? Are they allowed to do that? And then they're using your email address that you use to cross-reference with your account that you declared a no license needed with to see if they tally up. The first thing that springs to mind here is if you are going to watch BBC iPlayer and you have declared no license needed, I don't understand why you would. If you want to, you can, but I personally would never declare no license needed again. Just ignore them completely. But if you do that, and you do fancy watching a bit of iPlayer, the answer's simple, isn't it? Just use a different email address. Anyone can make up a fake email address, can't they? You can go to tempemail.com and get a temporary email address. Use that to sign into iPlayer. They couldn't, I'm not saying do this. I would never say do it. What I am saying is, if you did do that, they couldn't possibly know if you've accessed BBC iPlayer or not, and you don't have a television license. So they're basically telling you there how to dodge it. I'm not telling you how to dodge it. They've done that themselves. Repeated use will lead to a reminder being sent out to the no license needed holder or address. The fact that such processing takes place is set out in the TV licensing privacy policy and also in the BBC iPlayer privacy notice. So yeah, in the terms and conditions and the privacy notice, that no one reads the terms and conditions for anything ever. Do that? I never do. You give them permission to share your information with whoever the bloody hell the BBC want to share your information with. So yeah, lovely trustworthy company, BBC, isn't it? TV licensing's privacy policy also states that TV licensing may use information supplied from third-party data providers. We believe the wording you mention has likely come from a TV licensing letter sent using personal data provided by Sega City Solutions. Sega City has contracts with third parties under which it gathers personal data about their customers, which Sega City processes to help organisations like TV licensing maintain its communications with customers. So now another third-party company has your personal data. And that's okay. All right, that's fine. Absolutely fine. When you declare no license needed, you're giving all this information to the BBC. You're giving all this information to TV licensing. And you're giving all this information to Sega City Solutions. Whoever the bloody hell they are. Just have a quick Google. Yeah, all right. Sega City Solutions work with literally everybody. Moonpig, Eon, AA, Thames Water, Co-op Bank, United Utilities, Southern Water, Talk, Marie Curie Station. Yeah, I would imagine their turnover's quite tasty. But anyway, back to it. By combining data from TV licensing, BBC accounts and Sega City, it has been possible to associate a physical address where a no license needed declaration is enforced and there is an email address which has been used to access iPlayer. How much is all of this costing? How many millions and millions of pounds a year is this costing to fuck about doing this? How wasteful is it? I mean, it's obviously profitable for them. They get over 4 billion quid a year from TV licensing. I think it's a lot more than that now. It's gone up. I need to get the new numbers. So it must be profitable for them. But what a bloody faff when you could just show sodding adverts. The BBC accepts that there is I might laugh. Hold on. The BBC accepts that there is a general public interest in transparency. Yeah, okay. The BBC accepts there's a general public interest in transparency. We'll just let that turd lie there, shall we? Accountability and public understanding in respect of TV licensing operations, which I just wanted to read that bit because it was fucking ridiculous. Wasn't it? Transparency and the BBC in the same sentence. Do me a favour. Well, thank you to Mr. A. Wilmore there, which probably isn't your real name, because why would you use your real name on the FOI website? I never did. But thank you to them for filing that and getting an answer. So I always thought it was just a phishing exercise, as I said. Maybe they are doing all this data harvesting and all this cross-referencing of data now. And the easiest way to avoid all of that is don't use your real email address for anything to do with the BBC. Done. Problem resolved. Let me know what you think of this. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? I'll put a link to this FOI request down in the bit. You can read it for yourself if you want, because there's a bit more to it. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. And while you're down there leaving your comment, hit the buttons, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Because if you do all of those things, hopefully I'll get to see you in another video again soon, won't I? Ta-da.